Welcome back to All Fox Racing PlayStation. Welcome back to the Transatlantic Cup. We are at round 3. You can see there, Alton Park International is where we are. This is the Ginetta G40 GT5 car that has been used in this mini season of All Fox Racing PlayStation. 10 races, 5 rounds. This is round 3, race 2. So we are in the 6th race of the season, and race 1 was already won by Diogo Silva, with now Diogo sitting 3rd, because the first row it's Darren Head and Jorge Jesus, 2nd row Diogo and Cavallan, 3rd row Dale Taylor and Scott Lively, 4th row it is Jumbo and Rob Oldham, followed by Gonçalo Mota, Peter Adrian, John Scott, Sid and David Emge in 13th spot, as we are now going for the start. And look at this nice start by Jorge Jesus. Jorge Jesus has had a perfect start. Was that too good to be true? We wait to see if there are any penalties. Everyone seems to make it through turn 1 safely. And race 1 had a lot of close racing. We expect the same from race 2. People there just bumping the curb. Oh, look at that. Oh, and someone spins. Oh, it's carnage. It's absolute carnage. And there's a car. Oh dear, that's Jumbo. I believe we'll get a replay of what happened. Jumbo started in 7th place. Everyone ahead of him had a good start. Gonçalo Mota here in 9th. Rob Oldham on the inside of Jumbo. John Scott also goes through turn 1. And now this is Rob Oldham. And it seems to me that Jumbo, he was running wide there. And look at Rob Oldham again. He's involved in an incident with absolutely no fault of his own, and he drops to dead last. So Rob Oldham again involved in an incident, and this time, just like other times, he could not really do anything to avoid Jumbo's spinning car. To be fair, he wasn't spinning on purpose. He also lost a lot of time, and both of them are now at the back of the back. As you can see, Jumbo spinning into the pathway of Rob Oldham. Peter Adrian nowhere to go as well. Ends up collecting Rob Oldham, but Peter actually comes back to the track more quickly than Jumbo and Rob Oldham. Meanwhile, Darren Head is still in 2nd place with Jesus. That's the incident there at the back. Look at this, Diogo Silva on the inside there. Diogo Silva on the inside, and these two have tangled here in race 1, right at the hairpin. And Diogo Silva already can see another familiar face, that yellow car of Cavallo. Look at Cavallo almost getting Diogo there on the inside. So Diogo is now again sandwiched between Darren and Kev. The difference is that in race 1 this was for the lead, and now they're battling for ultimately 2nd place. Peter Adrian in 11th. Jumbo is in 12th, John Scott in 10th place. He also lost a bit of time. David Emge now under attack by Dale Taylor. No, that's actually Cavallan, sorry. So Dale Taylor up into 4th place. Nicely done there by Dale Taylor. He made a very important move on Cavallan just before the last chicane. Top 3 are Jorge Jesus, Darren Head and Diogo Silva, as Gonçalo Mota is there in 6th place. Now Cavallan in 5th, and 7th is John Scott, followed by David Emge, followed by Sid, followed by John Scott. And I do apologize for still not remembering Sid's surname, but we hope to correct that by round 4. Look at Cavallan again on Del Taylor. Cavallan has had a massive exit out of the last corner. Now he's on the outside of turn 1. Not the ideal overtaking point, but he's going for it anyway. Oh, and contact between the two drivers, and Cavallan is in the grass. Cavallan is in the grass and he's across the track. Cavallan. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, what happened here? I think that Kev, well, he was on the outside and he was behind Dale. He goes, oh, he just gets out of shape there completely by going into that curb and ends up losing, well, pretty much. Where does he re-emerge? He emerges in, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, he is in, oh, and so, someone has spun there. Oh, that's Sid, followed, well, behind David Emge, and Sid is, oh, that was another driver on the outside of turn 1, but Sid decided not to go for it. Now he's coming on the inside, and ooh, look at this, I think that gap may disappear, and oh, they just tangled, and big incident there as well. I think, to be fair, well, there was a gap, but I'm not sure that I take it as a racing incident. I think they were both away from the ideal line, and well, eventually and incredibly, Sid actually overtook David Emge in the end. Look at the battle for the lead. This is incredible because Darren Head is back into contention as he is now very close to Jorge Jesus. Jorge finally managed to lead a lap. He was in pole position for race 1, but he did not manage to be in the lead of the race for a complete lap. Now he is already on lap 2 out of 12 laps of this race. And look at this, it's quite interesting with this car, as these three drivers, Jorge Jesus, Darren Head, and Diogo Silva, actually are making more or less the same lap times, but they do it very differently. Look at how Darren was to Jorge in the first sector. Now Jorge is just running away. Diogo Silva is having a bit of trouble to just join the leading pack because the top two are already a little bit ahead of Diogo Silva. Diogo Silva is only 2 seconds from the lead, but there's already a bit of a gap between him and Darren. Gonçalo Mota in 5th place. He is up to 5th place, of course, from 6th with Cavallan's incident there in turn 1 that we saw. 6th is Scott left, and John Scott is in 7th, and as usual, the Scott with the name is not very far from the Scott with the surname, and John Scott is coming to put some pressure on Scott Davely. Peter Adrian is 8th, Sid is 9th, 10th is Jumbo, and then we've got drivers that were delayed by various incidents. We have Cavallan, Rob Oldham, and David Emge that was delayed in that incident with Sid in the previous lap. Now we are on lap 3 out of 12. Cavallan is coming back at Jumbo. This is a very interesting corner. Now on the inside here for the hairpin didn't quite work because he was way too far behind Cavallan, but he's still trying to get into the top 10. He's already 20 seconds from the leader, but still there's a lot to play for, as Sid has made a mistake because he's losing a lot of momentum there. Peter Adrian in 8th, this is Sid, and then is Jumbo and Cavallan. Look at the battle for the lead. We can see that George has actually opened a bit of a gap now. The gap was under a second on the previous lap. Now it's well over a second. So Jorge Jesus is so far leading this race more comfortably now. But look at this battle for 9th place. This is quite the battle, as Sid is trying to keep that position. Look at Cavallan on the inside. Cavallan comes back, and this is an opportunistic move, but he's on the inside of Jumbo. He's going to overtake the two of them. That was a very good move by Cavallan. Absolutely brilliant. Cavallan just did a masterpiece. He overtook 2 cars in one go. Now here comes Jumbo on Sid as well, and that didn't quite work because Sid defends for his life in turn 1. He's actually getting back at Cavallan. Cav up to 9th for now, but I suspect that something is going to change in this group before the end of the race. We are on lap 4 out of 12. And look at Cavallo, he came so quickly to overtake these two drivers, but now he does not seem to be getting any gap out of Sid and Jumbo. In fact, he's under heavy pressure from Sid, the rookie. Again, doing a good job there in 10th place. He didn't qualify very well, but well, that's kind of critical with this car because these drivers more or less have the same pace, give or take. So qualifying position is quite key. Look at this now. Jumbo is there. Sid just trying to protect any way that he, well, in any shape or form, trying to protect his top position. Look at Jumbo now. Jumbo has hit him. Oh, that was a bit of a late move, to be fair. That corner overtaking there only really works when you're already side by side, and even in that situation the driver on the outside then takes the inside of the next corner in the chicane. But Jumbo was way too far behind. They end up losing a little bit of time, but thankfully no positions lost. Look at Jorge Jesus. He runs wide quite significantly in turn 1. We are on lap 5 already, so approaching the midpoint of this race. And Darren Head is again under a second. Look at Jorge Jesus running wide again. And now here comes Darren Head. He wants to win this race. He wants to put pressure on the championship leader, and now he's on the outside there. But George comes on the inside. Darren does the switcheroo, but now he's on the outside for the hairpin. And look at that contact between the two drivers. And here comes Diogo Silva. Diogo Silva up into second place. And there was a little bit too much of changing track position there between George and Darren. The net result is that Darren is up into, well, Darren is down into third place. This is Scott Davely in 6th. Gonçalo Mota is ahead of him in 5th. Peter Adrian still in 8th place. The 7th is, of course, John Scott. 9th is Cavallen, and East Cavallen coming after Peter. He was faster on the previous lap, still 4 seconds between these two drivers. And Scott Davely here in 6th spot. And look at this, Gonçalo Mota is rally crossing here in Alton Park. Here comes Scott Davely. This is going to be an easy pass. Yes, it was, because he was coming with a lot more momentum. Gonçalo recovering from that off-track excursion. And this is the replay. He was already out of shape here. And now he just clips the curb and goes towards the inside. And, well, then rally crosses his way back into the track. Actually hasn't lost a lot of time, Gonçalo, but ends up losing a position to Scott Davely. Scott up into 5th place now. And we are still in lap 5, so still not yet at the midpoint of this race. World Fox Racing PlayStation, of course, we do sprint races of around 20 minutes. And now this is on board with Diogo Silva, the new guy, in 2nd place. He was the winner of race 1 as well, but look at that mirror. Darren Head has not gone away. That red car is pretty much in contention. Look at George Jesus. He's quite slow again through this corner into the back straight. And this is where Darren and George in the previous lap, they were tangling eventually, with a bit of contact as well. Now Diogo Silva is on the inside. Look at Darren Head. Darren Head is coming. Absolutely, this is brilliant stuff. Now the top 3, there is nothing between them. They almost look like a single car. And Jorge Jesus seems to me is having some sort of issue because his pace is being affected. Now good exit by all the 3 drivers here means no attack before the chicane. But Jorge Jesus is under heavy pressure from Diogo, and Diogo himself is under heavy pressure from Darren as they are about to complete another lap, and this is going to be potentially the midpoint of the race here at Alton Park International, race 2 of round 3, the 6th race of the season. And look at that, absolutely all running wide there. George running wide. Oh, he's spinning. Oh! Collects Diogo Silva as well. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Nowhere to go for Diogo Silva, but George, oh, he just lost control of his own car. And We've seen a few drivers do that in that particular corner. It's very common. You just run a little bit wide and well, you don't need to run that wide, and certainly George didn't run that wide, but just the slightest contact there with the gravel and then spins. Now this means that Darren Head has gone ahead of these two drivers and is now leading the race. Let's see where these two ended up. It's Dale Taylor in second place, followed by Diogo Silva and Jorge Jesus, so they lost 2 positions each. Scott Davley remains in 5th. Kev Allen has, well, he is still in 9th place. He's trying to recover. He's getting closer to Peter Adrian. Now Darren Head is now on lap 7 in the second half of this race. Has quite a nice advantage there, more than 3 seconds over Dale Taylor, as Jorge Jesus is now under pressure from Scott Davley. Battle for 4th place. Scott trying to get closer to George there before the hairpin didn't really work. No real opportunity to overtake there. But ahead of George is still Diogo Silva, still in the podium position. The championship leader trying to defend his championship lead here. Won race 1, now 3rd place, and someone has spun there. That's Gonçalo Mota. Gonçalo Mota has spun. He did not have any assistance. We've seen also several drivers do this. He parks it beautifully there, reset button between the nose cones, and loses quite a bit of time and positions. Down into 9th place. Up into 8th is Kev Allen, and up into 7th is Peter Adrian. Before how much longer? Because in the meantime, as we discussed, Kev Allen was really going a little bit faster than Peter Adrian, and now this is the net result. They are battling for 7th position. John Scott up into 6th place. Scott Davley remains 5th, and then is Jorge Jesus, Diogo Silva, Dale Taylor, and Darren Head, who has almost 3 seconds now of a gap ahead of everyone else. Here comes Kev Allen on Peter Adrian, and he's going to go for the inside. He's a little bit too far behind, but he's trying to brake late, and that was a good move. Kev Allen up into 7th place. He is 4 seconds behind John Scott. We'll keep an eye on the lap times. Probably this wasn't the fastest lap of Kev Allen, as he had to complete the overtaking maneuver to go ahead of Peter Adrian. Peter down into 8th place. Again, more close racing as we saw, well, the same amount of close racing as we saw in race 1, with battles throughout the field. And now this is Scott Davley again trying to put pressure on Jorge Jesus. Jorge now in 4th place, having led a few laps of this race. Now let's see Diogo Silva. Oh, and the Jorge is well shortcutting there the chicane a little bit, loses a bit of momentum. Now the gap between Diogo Silva and Dale Taylor is around 5 seconds, and Dale Taylor was faster in the last lap compared to Diogo. Lap 8 already out of 12. Peter Adrian in 8th spot behind Kev Allen in 7th. As we are getting to the last third of this race, and Darren Heads is looking good to score his 2nd win of the season. And let's look at the gap. He's under 3 seconds. Dale Taylor is still keeping him honest, as Dale was again slightly faster than Darren in the previous lap. And Diogo Silva is coming, but he's too far behind now. He was the fastest of the G in this particular lap, 1:48.265. But he is a few seconds behind Dale Taylor. Oh, carbon copy of what happened in race 1. Absolute carbon copy. When he was leading the race briefly in race 1, he lost it in the same place, in the same way, and hit the barrier exactly in the same place, and is now down to 4th place. And that's a bit of a shame, because the battle for the lead actually looked quite interesting, as Dale was marginally quicker than Darren in the last 2 laps. But now it's Diogo Silva that is up into second place. However, he is almost 8 seconds behind. And with just 3 laps to go at the line a few moments ago, this is Gonçalo Mota in 9th place. Peter Adrian is ahead of him. Peter is running wide. Peter is running wide, and Gonçalo ends up overtaking Peter, and Peter down into 9th place. It's not going in the right direction for Peter Adrian, as he has lost a position to Cavallo and now lost another position to Gonçalo. But Gonçalo immediately goes wide in turn 1 and rally crosses his way back into the track. Now Peter Adrian is coming with more momentum. I have a suspicion that this battle is not going to be over. For 8th place, 7th is Cavallo, 6th is John Scott, 5th is Scott Davey, 4th now is Dale Taylor, up into 3rd is Jorge Jesus, and Diogo Silva is in 2nd, and Darren Head has a beautiful chance to win this race and score another victory. And if it stays like this, effectively Diogo and Darren will have scored the same amount of points in this round, as they both had a 1st and a 2nd position, but still quite a lot of the race to go, as Dale Taylor tries to put himself back in contention for a podium position. And the man in front of him is Jorge Jesus. Scott Davey has lost a bit of steam there. He's a few car lengths behind Dale, but he still has a reasonably comfortable gap over John Scott, around 3 seconds. And Peter Adrian is now coming back at Gonçalo Mota. Remember that Gonçalo overtook Peter in the last corner on the previous lap. Peter coming now back to put some pressure on Gonçalo, and definitely we want to see the last stage of this race. That is Jorge Jesus and Dale Taylor. Dale Taylor is absolutely flying. Well, we can see that in the lap time, because of course he spun on the previous lap, but look at him, he's already recovered quite a lot of ground. He just needs to avoid spinning yet again here, which he does. So we cannot see that in the lap time, but Dale Taylor is really flying now, and he's right on the tail of Jorge Jesus. This is the battle for the last podium position. We'll keep an eye on the top 2, as the gap is now 7.1 seconds, so still quite a lot of a gap with just 2 laps to go at the line. We'll look at Dale Taylor running wide there. That's not the fastest way around that particular corner, because even maybe you shortcut things a little bit, but going through the grass here in this circuit, and especially these curbs, is definitely not advisable. Tin of Spam, that's Rob Oldham, now in 11th spot, running ahead of Sid and running ahead of David Emge. Jumbo still in 10th place, and really Jumbo and Rob Oldham have never really recovered from that incident on the first lap, where Jumbo ran wide and span into Rob's pathway. And that's yet another race that is slightly compromised for Rob Oldham. That's Gonçalo Mota here on your screen in 8th place. Ahead of Peter Adrian, Darren Head is the leader, and he is now on lap 11 out of 12, and is preparing himself to score yet another victory. Nicely done here by Darren. Just a bit like Diogo Silva was the main beneficiary of Darren and Kev colliding in race 1. Here we've got Darren now as the main beneficiary of this tangle between Jorge Jesus and Diogo Silva, an all-Portuguese tangle. And Portuguese drivers, they do have the habit of tangling in one another. Just watch the YouTube of the Endurance League at Road America, where we saw 4 LMP2s with damage out in one corner, as everyone had to pit to fix the damage. So they have a bit of history, these Portuguese drivers, but nevertheless, in this case it was really just a racing incident, and Rob Oldham has retired from this race. Rob Oldham has retired, and that's not the race that he wanted. He is going to disconnect, I guess. Oh no, he spun again. And is he just going to park it? He's down into 12th spot, and he may have decided to park it at this point. Yes, that's what happened. Well, he didn't have a lot of places to lose, but certainly he's got a DNF now in this race. Look at Gonçalo Mota rally crossing. He has been the driver that has used the most of the rallycross section of this track. He is up into 8th place. 9th is Peter Adrian. So these two have swapped positions a little bit over the race. Now the leader is about to enter his last lap. Darren Head, that 7th place man, Kev Allen, that really also hasn't recovered a lot from an earlier incident. 6th is John Scott. 5th is Scott Davely. 4th Dale Taylor. 3rd is George Jesus, and Dale Taylor is still chasing George. Actually, we should potentially have a look at that battle right now, because it's only 0.3 of a second between 3rd and 4th. Peter Adrian. Let's see if we can have a look at what's happening in the battle for the podium. As Darren Head is almost starting his last lap. There he is in the last corner, and Darren Head is 1 lap away from victory, and the gap to 2nd place has gone down. It's 5.9, but that's just Darren just controlling the pace of this race, making sure he makes no mistakes, and I think this victory is not going to escape from Darren Head. Now look at Diogo Silva. He's got a bit of damage there, of course only visual damage in the Old Fox Racing PlayStation. Dale Taylor is making a last lap attempt to come back at George Jesus. George is not particularly quick through this corner, and Dale actually has a good exit, so we'll keep an eye on that battle for the podium as Kev Allen also tries to get back at John Scott. The problem for both drivers is that there's only 1 lap to go, and it's the lap that they are at, and Dale Taylor is already trying to see where can he make a move on George Jesus, and all of a sudden this battle has really come alive, as Dale Taylor has a couple more overtaking opportunities that he can do before the end of the race. Now Darren Head is going to win this race. Diogo Silva is going to finish in 2nd place. There is Darren, that number 50, finished 2nd in race 1, now has got the victory. It has been a decent round for Darren here at Oulton Park. Diogo Silva won race 1, he's going to finish 2nd in race 2, and Dale Taylor is a little bit too far behind to make any serious attempt over the last corner. Darren Head comes to take the checkered flag, and he's going to be the winner of race 2 of round 3. That's the 6th race out of 10 in this Transatlantic Cup. The checkered flag is in the air, and Darren Head has run the perfect race to win it as he crosses the line. Winner Darren Head. 2nd place is going to be Diogo Silva. 3rd place is going to be Jorge Jesus. 4th place Dale Taylor, and Scott Davely is going to complete the top 5 in this race. 6th is going to be Kev Allen. 7th, what happened to John Scott? John Scott has lost it. Oh, he's lost it on the last lap. Almost collected Kev Allen. And oh, look at this, Gonçalo Mota and Peter Adrian. Oh, that's a disaster for John Scott. He drops down to 9th. Gonçalo Mota in 7th place. 8th is going to be Peter Adrian. 9th is going to be a very disappointed John Scott, with Jumbo completing the top 10. Sid in 11th, and I'm not sure how Rob Oldham is in. Well, I believe David Demke also retired the car, otherwise Rob Oldham would not be in. And Sid is in the gravel now. He's rally crossing on the last step. He's not going to lose any positions because he's the last car running. David Demke also has retired. We haven't seen that. We've seen Rob Oldham retire, so 2 retirements here in this race as we followed the last few corners of this race with Sid. Not the result he was looking for, possibly 11th. He has done well, slightly better in other rounds, and surely he's going to be looking forward to Long Beach, which is the next round of the Transatlantic Cup. 2 races at Long Beach. There is a confirmation of the results there ahead. Diogo Silva and Jorge Jesus are your podium. Thank you for watching and see you in California.